Hi everyone. Today's lesson is finding period, amplitude, and graphing sine function, cosine function. Okay, so let's look at the property of sine functions first. So given structure of y equal to a times sine bx. So bx is inside the sine function. We can look at the overall shape of the sine function. That's x-axis, y-axis. It starts from 0, 0, and it goes up, goes down, hit the middle level, keep going down, hit the very minimum, and start going back up. That's where we started, the middle position. So go up, down to the middle, keep going down to the minimum, then come back to the middle. And that look like a wave. If you look at from here to here, they look like a wave. That shape repeats. So it's called a periodic function because this pattern, same pattern, keeps happening over and over and over. Okay, that shape, we call that as a one cycle because this same shape keeps repeating. So the shortest, smallest piece which keeps repeating, that we call as one cycle. Horizontal length of one cycle, we call that as a period. And amplitude means thickness of the graph, which you start from the middle and you can go all the way up to the top, maximum. That thickness, we call that as amplitude. So don't get confused. Amplitude is not from minimum to maximum. That's not amplitude. Middle to maximum or middle to minimum. That thickness we call that as amplitude. So value of a, which is a coefficient of the sine function, whatever number in front of sine is amplitude. Actually, absolute value of it. Absolute value of a is amplitude. That determines how thick the graph is. And how long the one cycle is, which is a period, we have a formula, 2 pi over absolute value of b. This formula is super important. Along with this, amplitude is this. 2 pi over absolute value of b. This is 360 degree over b. You hardly see this. When we graph a trigonometric function, usually we use radian. You will hardly see degree. So period is 360 over b in degrees, or in radian, period will be 2 pi over b. And this is a very frequently used formula. So you will have to memorize it. So if you dealing with y equal to sine x, for example, y equal to sine x, so you get to compare against this formula. What's the value of a? No number. That means it's 1. A is 1. What's the value of b? You don't see any coefficient of x. That means b is 1 as well. So a value being 1, absolute value of 1 is 1. So that gives you thickness. So that's amplitude here. So it goes high as 1, as low as 1. That's how you got amplitude. Period, you get to use the formula 2 pi over absolute value of b. And b value was 1. So you plug it in 1, should be 2 pi over absolute value of 1. Divided by 1 doesn't do much. So that's a 2 pi. So once you have a 2 pi, that's a period. So you have to be careful. Period is a 2 pi, and you have to finish graph of one cycle within 2 pi. But do you remember? Sine function has 4 parts, middle to high. high to middle, middle to minimum, minimum to back to middle. So there are four different shape of the graph. So it's important for you to know what those points are. So when you graph it, here's a 1. So you can go as high as 1, as low as 1. You go high as 1, as low as -1. So that will be your maximum line here, minimum line here. So when you draw your graph on a scratch paper, this is what you will do. Your Alex will have a grid line already, so it'll be easier for you to graph. Let's say you're trying to graph on a scratch paper. So you know that 1, 2, 3, 4 different intervals, and total is 2 pi. So you want to know what is this value, what is this value, what is this value. Well, that's a 2 pi. We are cutting that into 4 pieces. So with the period being 2 pi, to get one tick mark, you need to divide period by 4. So it'll be 2 pi divided by 4. I say one tick mark. One tick mark, you divide period by 4, it will be pi over 2. So it's very important for you to understand pi over 2 is the length of one tick mark. So that's a 1 pi over 2. Pi over 2 is 1 pi over 2. Second one will be 2 pi over 2. Third one will be 3 pi over 2. Fourth one will be 4 pi over 2. As you can see, 4 pi over 2 simplified is 2 pi. 2 pi over 2 is simplified to pi. So we usually write pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Then we are graphing sine function. So do you remember, sine function start from the middle, hit the maximum, hit the middle back, you're gonna hit the minimum, then go back to middle, and connect them very nicely. So usually you just graph one cycle, but you should know this pattern keeps going to the right, to the left, forever. This wave shape will appear right side, left side, forever. And if you look at it, that's how they graphed it. So that's a pi here. They did not give a tick mark here. Usually you do. For Alex assignment, you do need to know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Only then you can graph the entire sine function or cosine function in Alex. So you need to practice 5 points. Okay, analysis-wise, once you graph sine theta, you can tell domain is all real number. As you can see, this one is arrow. The more precise, you have to put arrow, meaning it's going to keep going to the left, keep going to the right. So domain is covering all real number. That's why it's all real number. Range is as high as maximum as 1, as low as minimum -1. So y values should be from -1 through 1. Amplitude is 1. So thickness is 1, thickness is 1. Period will be 360 degree, which is the same as 2 pi. Again, period, usually we analyze in radian. You will hardly see period in degree. So before we deal with the cosine function, I think probably we can practice sine first. So what if we have a question? Find the amplitude and the period of this. They are asking you period in degree. So we will answer that in degree, but just to let you know, most of time you will be asked to find the radian of the period answer, not degree. So we will do both. So amplitude means value of A. Value of A is a coefficient of a sine. There's a nothing there. What does that mean? That means it's 1. Amplitude is 1. Okay, 1/3 is the value of B. So how does that affect our graph? Well, the amplitude will be 360 degree over B. So 360 degree over B, B value is 1/3. So you take absolute value of 1/3 because formula is 360 over absolute value of B. So 360 degree over 1/3 is the same as 360 degree divided by 1/3. Divided by 1/3 is the same as multiplied by reciprocal. Oops. So you have to flip it. So you multiply that, you will get this. So here is the answer, but I want you to practice. Most of the time, they will ask you period in radian. So in that case, you will have to use a formula, period of 2 pi over b, absolute value of b, which is this. So it'll be same as 2 pi divided by 1/3, which is same as 2 pi times 3 over 1, which is 6 pi. So most of the time, you will need to calculate period value using radian, which is 6 pi. Okay? So I want you to try this by yourself, pause it, try it by yourself. Okay, here's the A value, which I don't see any number, meaning coefficient is 1. A is 1. So absolute value of 1 is 1. So amplitude is 1. Period. 1/2 is the value of a B. So period will be what? Formula for period is 360 degree over absolute value of a B, absolute value of 1 over 2. So that's same as 360 degree divided by 1 over 2, which is same as 360 degree times 2 over 1, which becomes 720 degree. So we are done for this problem. But you need to practice. Usually they will ask you period in radian. So how do you do that? 2 pi over absolute value of b, which is 2 pi divided by 1/2, which is same as 2 pi times 2 over 1. So 4 pi will be your answer as a period most of the time. Okay, let me explain cosine shape. No, actually, I'm gonna continue with the sine, finish all the way, then I'll cover cosine. So next example here is graph the function y equal to 1 over 2. That's a cosine. So let's do this first. Graph the function y equal to 5 over 2 sine x. So this is the value of a, coefficient of sine x, which is 5 over 2. So absolute value of a is 5 over 2, meaning amplitude is 5 over 2. Amplitude is 5 over 2. So let's say you're graphing on a scratch paper. How is it gonna? So you will have 1, 2, 3. 5 over 2 is 2.5. So 2.5, maximum line will be somewhere over there. Minus 1, 2, 3. So minus 2.5, minimum line will be somewhere over there. So I'll put the maximum line dot dot dot, minimum line dot 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 first, once you figure out the amplitude. Now, period is a value of a b here is a coefficient of x. I don't see any number right in front of x. What does that mean? B value is 1. So period is 2 pi over absolute value of b, so 2 pi over 1 becomes 2 pi. So tilde is 2 pi. So you need a 1, 2, 3, 4 tick mark. And fourth tick mark, you want to put as 2 pi. Because you need a 4 different shape to draw, to graph the entire one cycle of sine function. So that's the fourth tick mark, which is 2 pi, and you need to divide that period by 4 pieces. So if 2 pi divided by 4 becomes a pi over 2. So this will be pi over 2. Pi over 2 is the same as 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2. Again, 4 pi over 2 is simplified to 2 pi. 2 pi over 2 is simplified to pi. Then we are ready. Okay, you have to remember sine graph start from the middle. It's gonna hit maximum. It's gonna hit the middle back. It's gonna hit the minimum. It's gonna hit the middle back. So you have 5 points. When you graph it on a piece of paper, this is how you graph. When you graph on your RX, you still need to plot those 5 points. So it's very important for you to recognize this is 0, 0. This x value is what? Pi over 2. Pi over 2, comma, it's 5 over 2 as a maximum value. You do need that coordinate. This point will be what? Pi as x value. Pi, comma, 0 is a y value. So here x value will be 3 pi over 2, comma, minus 1 is y value. And this will be 2 pi, comma, 0. When you plot these on your RX homework, you need this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. You need to type those 5 points on a coordinate on your RX. Then you can click the graph. That's how you graph the sine graph on your RX. Okay, here's an example. One example you can try. The answer is there. You should try it. And if you got this, you got the very simple sine function graph done. Okay, for next part 2, I will continue to explain with the cosine.